I'm here to tell you that words can also be triggers. One particular word that has been a trigger for me over the years is the word easy. It's a word that we want so bad. Easy life, easy money, easy job, easy faith. In fact, people pay a lot of money and give up a lot of their life when they are convinced someone has the secret to the easy way. And one of the most dangerous things I have seen is that the word easy can get translated in our faith as the word grace. To me, grace is the most important thing in life. And isn't it interesting that you don't have to earn the most important thing in life? In fact, having a relationship with God through Jesus is not dependent on how good you are or the work that you do. One thing I've discovered is that in my life is that if something is easy for me, it was probably hard for somebody else. So even though grace is easy for us, it was hard for Jesus. And when I read the Bible, it's a little confusing because Jesus came to usher in the grace, but he uses some hard language in doing so. I got a couple passages I'll read from the Bible, and I want you to pay attention to the language that Jesus uses because it doesn't come across as easy. In Luke 6:27, Jesus says, "But to who are listening I say, love your enemies, do good to those who hate you, bless those who curse you, pray for those who mistreat you. If someone slaps you on one cheek, turn to him the other also. If someone takes your coat, do not withhold your shirt from them. Give to everyone who asks you, and if anyone takes what belongs to you, do not demand it back. Do to others as you would have them do to you." In Matthew 5, verse 38, Matthew writes down this kind of same basic theme. He says, "You have heard that it is said, eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth. But I tell you, do not resist an evil person. If anyone slaps you on the right cheek, turn to them the other cheek. And if anyone wants to sue you and take your shirt, hand over your coat as well. If anyone forces you to go 1 mile, go with them 2 miles. Give to the one who asks you, and do not turn away from the one who wants to borrow from you." Now, why then, when grace is so easy, why does Jesus actually call us to do such hard things? I believe it's because one is about how you connect to the creator of the universe, and the other is about how you live out the life he created you to live. Grace is easy, again, grace is easy for us because it was hard for Jesus. Now, I don't know if you guys have figured this out yet, but life is pretty hard. When I started my faith journey years ago, people would try to sell Jesus to me pretty hard. They'd say, "Give your life to Jesus and everything will work out. You know, you'll be okay financially. Life's going to get easier. All you got to do is give yourself to Jesus." Well, I've been following Jesus for about 12 years now, and you know what I've discovered? It's not any easier. If you come to Jesus thinking he's going to make your life easier, it may, in my opinion, you may be disappointed. I believe he didn't come to make our lives easier, but he came to make us stronger. Have you ever prayed, "God, do something big in my life," and then life gets really, really hard after you start praying? And then you're like, "God, aren't you hearing from me?" When we pray to God and we ask him to do more, we are actually asking him to make us more, and that often requires work. And guess what work is? Work's hard. Everything that makes you better is harder. In fact, if you want to wrap up or summarize what Jesus is saying in the scriptures that I just read, he's saying, do hard things. Let's take working out, for example. If somebody goes to work out in order to get the big muscles or the washboard abs or whatever they call them, it's a lot of work. But as soon as you quit doing it, you're going to go right back to your previous physical stature. But there are things that are harder than physical discipline because there are a lot of people who look great, but they are emotionally, relationally, and spiritually weak. The hardest things in life to do are things that speak to your character. Andrew Huberman is a famous neuroscientist. I don't know if anybody has listened to his stuff, but he talks about a part of the brain that's called the AMCC, and it activates only when you do something that you do not want to do. It only activates when you do hard things. This part of the brain researchers have figured out is the seat of your willpower and your will to live. So if this part of your brain gets smaller and smaller and smaller, you lose your ability to have resilience, endurance, perseverance, and stamina. But this part of your brain also has the ability to do the opposite of shrink, and that is expand. But guess what causes it to expand? You guessed it, It expands by doing hard things. It expands by doing things that you might not necessarily want to do. Romans, they used to be able to slap young Jewish men, take their coats for themselves, take their coats for themselves or their horse, make them carry the horse's pack for up to 1 mile if they thought that their horse was tired. Can you imagine that happening to you? Being treated inferior to a horse? That is exactly what Jesus is telling these Jewish men to do. Do hard things. If the Roman tells you to carry it for 1 mile, carry it for 2 miles. If he slaps you on one cheek, turn the other cheek and offer it to him. I believe this also relates to emotions as well. What are the easiest emotions that we can step into? Anger, resentment, depression, anxiety. Not once in my life did I have to do hard things or work hard to be angry, resentful, depressed, or anxious. I've been to my fair share of therapists over the years, and not once have I walked into the therapist and said, "Hey, can you help me become more depressed, anxious, or resentful?" No, it's always the opposite. It's how can I become more happy, less depressed, less anxious. And what does it take to achieve this? Work, hard work. Jesus is telling us grace will come easy, but what God has created you to become, that is hard work. Romans 8, 5 through 11, this is a little lengthy and wordy, so I'll try to read it a little bit slow, but those who live according to the flesh have their mind set on what the flesh desires. But those who live in accordance with the Spirit have their mind set on what the Spirit desires. The mind governed by the flesh is death, but the mind governed by the Spirit is life and peace. The mind governed by the flesh is hostile to God. It does not submit to God's law, nor can it do so. Those who are in the realm of the flesh cannot please God. You, however, are not in the realm of the flesh, but are in the realm of the Spirit. If indeed the Spirit of God lives in you, and if anyone does not have the Spirit of Christ, they do not belong to Christ. But if Christ is in you, even though your body is subject to death because of sin, the Spirit gives life because of righteousness. And if the Spirit of Him who raised Jesus from the dead is living in you, He who raised Christ from the dead will also give life to your mortal bodies because of the Spirit who lives in you. Like I said, there's a little wording, but if you could just take the words flesh and spirit from the above and reframe it like this. When you are living in the flesh, it's the lesser version of you. When you are living in the Spirit, it's the highest version of you. When you are living in the flesh, you are doing the easy things that makes life hard. And when you are living in the Spirit, you are doing the hard things that makes life, no, not easy, meaningful. The same power that raised Jesus from the grave, the same power that gave us the resurrection, the same power lives in us right now. That He would give that power to us right now in our mortal bodies. Not after we die, but before we leave this life. That power is in us right now, and there is a battle every single day of our lives that will call us to our flesh, our lowest version of ourselves. And we have to step into that battle and say, God, I refuse to be the lesser version of me. I'm going to be God's version of me. I'm going to be the highest version possible of who God created me to be. I know myself at times, and maybe some other people in this room may think we're not fast enough, or smart enough, or capable maybe of getting a certain type of job, or that we don't have enough education or intelligence, or whatever it may be that makes that other person special and us different. I am here to tell you that that is a lie from the devil. When I would wake up every single day going, God, I know you love me, so I'm just going to be this tragic underachiever, God, because I don't have to do anything to earn your love or acceptance. And you know how I think God responded to that? Yes, but you're never going to live up to the design I placed inside of you, to the potential I placed inside of you, to the calling I placed inside of you, if you keep choosing this easy way. So my question here for this evening is this. What are you going to choose? The easy version of you or the hard version of you? I challenge everybody in this room to do hard things, and I promise you it'll change your life.